All right, let's just jump right in. Every once in a while, a story pops up in the world of finance that just sounds, well, too good to be true. And today, we are definitely looking at one of those. It's an AI trading system called Trend Pulse AI, and it's making a claim so absolutely wild, we have to take a closer look.
So here it is. This is the headline number that's got everybody talking. A return of plus 159.6%. I mean, just take a second to let that number sink in. Most professional funds, they would be ecstatic to get a tiny fraction of that in a whole year.
And right on cue, here comes the real kicker. This didn't happen over a year or even a month. This return was supposedly generated in just 4 active trading days. 4, that's it. Which, of course, brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. What are we actually looking at here? Is this some revolutionary, genius-level intelligence, an unbelievable, once-in-a-lifetime fluke? Or is this just really, really good marketing hype? Let's dig in.
Okay, so to even begin to answer that, we have to try and peek inside the AI's black box. What in the world is the technology that's making these incredible claims?
So the brain of this thing is what its creators are calling a 6-engine AI stack. Basically, it integrates a bunch of well-known large language models. You've probably heard of most of these. But forget the tech for a second. Look at those performance claims, 100% accuracy and 0 false signals. Look, for anyone who works in finance or in AI, those are not just red flags. They're giant, flashing neon signs. No real-world system is perfect, period.
The core strategy, the big idea here, it isn't about just picking one winning stock. It's this whole doctrine they call the cross-asset hierarchy. The concept is that different assets, like Bitcoin or the S&P 500, are given very specific, very rigid jobs. They have to work together, kind of like a team, in a really strict order to confirm any trade and to manage all the risk. So, here's how that whole hierarchy actually plays out. Think of Bitcoin, BTC, as the master on/off switch. If it senses the market's a little shaky or fragile, nope, everything's off, nothing happens. Then you have SPY, which tracks the S&P 500. That's your anchor, the reliable engine that's supposed to churn out profits. Tesla, or TSLA, that's the fun one. It's the afterburner, the amplifier for those explosive gains, but it only gets to fire up if Bitcoin, the master switch, says go. And finally, you've got UVXY, which is basically an insurance policy against chaos. It's the dynamic hedge to keep things from blowing up.
So, okay, the design sounds pretty clever on paper, but the true test of any AI, right, is can it actually learn when things get stressful, when the pressure's on? Let's see how it adapted when things nearly went sideways. Now, this timeline, it tells a really fascinating story. The week kicks off with this massive, unbelievable win. But then on August 27th, disaster almost strikes. They have what's called a hedge crisis, where the cost of their insurance policy basically vaporized almost all of the day's profits. But, and this is the most important part, the very next day, the system has a breakthrough. It actually learns from that expensive mistake. And you can see that learning process right here. On the 27th, the day of the crisis, the approach was totally over-engineered. You had all these moving parts, complex trades, and super high costs. But look at the next day. It's all about elegant simplicity. One single, clean trade that made about the same amount of profit, but with 80% less complexity and 0 money wasted on those hedges. That is the system adapting in real time.
That breakthrough moment actually resulted in a specific upgrade they called DOTAS 2.0. It's a brand new way of managing its insurance policy. And the key mental shift here is that it started treating hedges like temporary tools you use and then throw away, not long-term positions you have to hold on to. This is a perfect, concrete example of the system actually evolving from a near failure.
Okay, so you have a system that can post massive returns and apparently learn from its own mistakes. So what is something like that actually worth after just 1 week of performance? Well, the answer is pretty staggering.
Based on that 1 week, that's it. Its creators slopped an indicative enterprise value on it of $15 million. No, that is not a typo. $15 million for 1 week of results.
So, how on earth do you get to a number like that? Well, this chart here breaks it down. A huge piece of the pie, up to $8 million, is something they call performance option value, which is basically just the potential value if these returns can be repeated. Then you've got projected revenue from selling subscriptions, and finally, the value of the secret sauce itself, the intellectual property.
And they are not stopping there. The ambition, is to scale this valuation up to somewhere between $20 and $50 million in the next few months. But that valuation, and let's be honest, this whole entire story, it all hinges on one massive, unavoidable next step.
So now it's time to pull back the curtain and get a serious dose of real-world professional skepticism. How would an actual experienced investor look at all these claims? Let's just ground ourselves for a second with this table. On the left, you've got the Trend Pulse AI claims. On the right, you've got reality for a typical hedge fund. In the professional world, a gain of over 1% in a week is considered really strong. This system is claiming an average of nearly 40% per day. I mean, these numbers aren't even in the same universe. And hey, remember that language from the beginning? That internal claim of 100% accuracy? Well, industry pros see that for exactly what it is, highly improbable and marketing-oriented. It's the kind of language you use to sell something, not the kind you use when you're getting ready for serious scrutiny. So here's the bottom line. Professionals are deeply, deeply skeptical, and for very good reasons. First, returns this high almost always suggest a level of risk that's just as high, or probably even higher. Second, valuing a company at $15 million after 1 week? That is the definition of speculation. And third, no serious investor would even think about this without a 2 to 3 year audited track record.
So you've got these two totally different views, right? The creators see a revolutionary genius. The professionals see speculative hype. But is there one thing, one single crucial step that both sides can actually agree needs to happen next?
Yes, there is. It's this. The one single recommendation that comes up over and over again in all the analysis is to get a comprehensive, independent third-party audit and to do it immediately. Because until these numbers, these claims, and this entire system are verified under the harsh light of professional scrutiny, they're just an incredible story. And the ultimate question still remains, is it a true story?